let's see.
I wish I understood how to make that clearest work. The only thing I ever know is leave it and restart it and come back. That usually is what works for me.
Well, I'm gonna try that.
Try that and I'll watch for you. Um,
Okay.
y'all notice that I have a chair in here. This morning in um, the morning class, we talked a little bit about chair Tai Chi, and we can do that again this afternoon. But first, we'll want to get started with our warm-ups. Of course, you can do warm-ups seated as well. If you do like a seated version, or if you're in a position where you have to stay in a confined space and need to be seated, that it's good to know how to handle business and still be able to be active. So if you're seated, you can march your legs in place. If that's too much movement for your hips, you can tap your toes while you sit down. Just make sure you're still following the body structure principle, and that is to have upright posture. So, and your feet want to be grounded to the floor. You don't want to be just like laid back in your recliner and relaxed. You want to be aware of your body structure and still follow principles, even seated. So we're just always get started by moving around a little bit, opening and closing our hands, pumping our arms, just getting our bodies warmed up and ready for exercise. We don't want to exercise with cold muscles. It increases our chance of injury. So that's why we do that warming up just a few minutes
I'm back.
around. All right, well, good. Well, how'd you make it work?
I don't know.
Oh, well, for those of y'all who have been, getting the posters and the DVD in the mail, I hope that they have been received well and you've been able to utilize those so that it helps you in practice. And if you hadn't been around for me to offer that to you, I do have DVDs, I have music, and I have posters that I can mail to you as long as I have your um, registration form. That way I can have that stuff on file and then be able to send it to you. So, anywho, that's enough of our warming up. Let's start with our warm-up stretches. We get in our stable stance where our feet are about hip width, shoulder width apart, soft bend in our knees, our weights on both legs, our shoulders relaxed, we have good posture, and we're breathing. We want to be conscious throughout our day to make sure we're not holding our breath and that we continue to breathe. And if possible, take the time to practice deep breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. So for our warm-up stretches, we go head to toe, starting with the two for our neck. So we bring our hands up, palms down, pull them towards our chin and chest, push and follow those hands all the way down. Chin to your chest. Feel a slight stretch in the back of your neck. Getting our major joints ready for movement. Their neck exercise, we bring one hand to our hip and the other we follow as we look towards that shoulder. We go side to side, not going as far as we can, just going far enough to feel that slight stretch. You can pull your shoulder, your opposite shoulder back and get even a stretch in your chest. We're not forcing anything. We're just getting a full experience of that movement as we go side to side. course, this stretch helps with the mobility of our neck, allowing us to be a safe driver so we can look into the other lane or look behind us. Sometimes I get stuck on it because it just feels good to stretch that neck. Well, let's roll our shoulders. I sure missed y'all last week. If I had to do it all over again, I would just skip that meeting. I would just tell them to send me an email and catch me up. I think by that time, because the meeting lasted 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. So for 2 days, I was in this room by myself looking at the computer. 2 whole days. I was nearabouts depressed. I missed people and interaction with people. I think 2 hours on Wednesday, we talked about canning.
Canyon.
Canning, like canning vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah, I joked that I had a master's degree in canning by the time I got done with that meeting, which I really don't. After that meeting, I was kind of scared because I didn't want to do anything wrong to cause anybody to get sick, and I sure as heck didn't want a pressure cooker to explode in my kitchen. So I just said, well, I'll go buy Hunts at the Walmarts and be done with it. But they called it farmers market training, and there was just a lot of extra fluff. So like I said, I wish I wouldn't have canceled my classes, even though I had to go to that training. I think I wouldn't do it if I had to do it all over again. Well, all right, those are for our shoulders. Let's go to our spine with our ball. Now, if you have mobility problems with your shoulders, or you may have a froze shoulder where it don't allow you to lift your arms like this above your head or your hands above your head, you can stay right here and imagine stretching your back. And just staying in this small space, you'll still get that spinal stretch. So don't feel like you're not doing enough if you aren't able to do this. I'm really amazed at what a great stretch that is. We learned that when I went back to that training in Tallahassee. Now that's a training I was glad I got to go to. Let's go side to side. Remember, this is a torso movement. Our hands are just going along for the ride. We'll talk more about this in a second with our waving hands and clouds. As I'm going side to side, I caught myself holding a little bit of tension in my shoulders, and I let that go. And that's what I'm talking about not holding on to tension, to be so aware of your body that you're like, ooh, I'm tight, really tight right there. I'm holding my shoulders up, or I'm clenching my jaws. Recognize when you hold tension and let it go. And that's a gift to yourself, because then you won't get the pain that holding on tension can cause. All right, now for our hips. We're going to shift our weight to one leg, place that heel forward, hands back, pause in the middle, and toe back, hands forward. Don't forget, you can hold on to a chair if this is challenging, or you feel like you may fall if you don't hold on to something. Or you can do a modified version of this seated. Of course, you won't take your foot back when you're seated. You may fall out your chair, but you can bring that foot out and bring it back to that seated position. Let's switch legs, shifting our weight. Heel forward, hands back. Pause and toe back, hands forward. I notice that when I raise my arms up, like right here, that's sometimes when I grab onto tension and hold it. So being aware of that, then I can keep that from happening. But the gift of body awareness is not overrated. Thinking about how we hold our body and how we move our body that we learn in Tai Chi. So now we're going to shift weight to one side, tap. Remember, we keep our hands within our frame, so we're not going to continue to go out, because then we start leaning, and that will take us towards falling and going against what we're trying to avoid. So again, use your chair and skip the arm movements if shifting weight to one leg and moving the other is a challenge. Right, for our knees, let's have our loose fist by our hips. We're going to shift, lift, tap, and punch that opposite hand out. Bring it back. Remember, slow. So don't get in a hurry as you go through these moves. As we slow down, that challenges our muscles to be stabilizer and strong. Slow is the key and the secret here. It works our muscles differently than if we go fast. All right, now let's step out. Small step, keeping both feet, let me back up. Keeping both feet flat on the floor as I shift forward. Punch opposite hand, bring it back, feet side by side. So we're not shifting all the weight to that front foot. We're keeping weight on the back foot. Most important to keep those feet both flat and grounded. We also don't want to lean with the weight shift. We want to keep an upright posture. Well, I got Nora coming back in. This is one of my favorite moves because we shift weight front and back and side to side. Anytime I can get experience with weight transfer, I know that that's really helping my balance. And this one's a great way because we're shifting weight both directions. All right, now for our ankles. Heel, toe, rocking that ankle joint, working on the flexibility of that joint that can help us from falling. This is our goal. Hopefully, as we get stronger, the fear of falling lessens. A lot of people limit their movement because of their fear of falling. So if we can help make us strong so we're not scared, then that will help us out. Now let's go big toe, little toe. So this is a more challenging movement of that ankle joint. So do what you can. And as you work on the flexibility, this will be a little easier for you. And the other foot. Little toe, big toe. Give your body a good shake, and those are our warm-ups. Now, are there any questions about any of these movements that we do? Because we do 2 for our neck, shoulders, spine, hips, knees, and ankles. Do you need any clarifications of any of those movements? Or do you have any specific questions about the seated version of those?
I have a question.
Okay.
When you do the heel toe, Are you lifting the heel and leaning the toe, or you keep your heel on the floor?
My foot is off the floor. I mean, it's kind of hovering over the floor, so I have my foot out. And when I go heel, my heel is barely touching the floor. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And then same thing with the toe. The most important aspect is that you're rocking that ankle. It's not that you touch the floor. It's just the fact that you're going through that motion of heel toe. All right. Any other questions, or do you need me to do any of it as a seated version? Okay. Well, anything you need, you just let me know. And if we need to talk about it outside of class, I'll make myself available. So we're going to go through our basic 6 movements. We'll talk about it seated as well as standing. Our first movement is commencement. Now, commencement is bring our hands up, down, shift right, place the left foot, hands come in and up, shift left as those hands go out, right foot forward, hands come back, open and close. That's our second move. So remember our principles of slow, smooth, and continuous. So we're trying to never actually stop. Continue that movement. Smooth, slow, continuous movement. So that's our goal as we learn that movement more and more. Another thing we want to be conscious of is our hands facing each other. It has something to do with pressure points, acupuncture pressure points. I forget the name of it right now. But when they face each other, magical energy things happen. So that's one aspect of that move, is that those hands are facing each other the whole time. Another aspect of this one, but others, is that when we shift weight forward, our hands are going forward at the same time. When we shift weight down to that right foot, that's when our hands come down. So being able to marry that timing of the weight shift and the hand movement, And I think you'll feel more connected to the movement whenever you do that. So let's practice those first 2. And commence. Hands come up, down, shift right, place left. There we go. Open, close. So another thing I didn't say is about that empty step. So I said place that left foot out. So it's not immediately give it weight. When we step, we always empty step. Then we give it weight. So it's just that moment of an empty step of no weight. Again, commence. Up, down, place. Open, close. So if you do that movement seated, you can, of course, do it with no worries of your legs, as if you didn't have legs at all. They're just here. My feet are on the floor. I'm at the edge of not at the edge of my chair so easily that it's going to flip, but I'm not just sat back in my chair and comfortable. I have upright posture and relaxed shoulders. So no legs, right? Our hands come up, down, in, up, out, and back in. Open and close. Again, up, down. Open, close. You can engage your legs. So when come up, nothing's happening with your legs. When you come down, push one leg into the floor. When you bring your hands in, push the other leg into the floor. So you're pumping those legs. You're pushing one, releasing, and pushing the other. With each change direction of that hand movement, you switch legs. And so that's how you can engage your legs. You're in control of how hard you push into the floor. So it doesn't have to be like a really extreme, strong push into the floor. It can be a slight stretch. You're in charge. But that's how you engage your legs, even seated. So my legs are pushing and engaging with each change of movement. So that's how that move is done seated. Our next move is single whip, building on the open and close. We go to the right first. So here we're at open close. We shift left, step out right. When we adjust weight or give weight to that front foot and even it out to where there's weight on both legs, that's when I extend my arms forward, then turn and separate. Eyes follow our left hand opposite of the foot that stepped out. So we have shift left, step right, adjust, turn, separate. So when you separate, make sure not to forget the hand that you're not looking at. Sometimes out of sight, out of mind causes you to kind of forget all about it and not move it. But make sure that you get the full movement and take that one out as well. Let's build that on top. I'm going to come back to the chair. Let's stay standing. Even if you're seated, continue these movements seated. But if we have any questions about seated, we'll come back to that. All right, here we go. And commence. Up, down, and shift. Place, hand in and up. Shift as those hands go out. Right foot forward. Hands come back. Open and close. Single whip. Shift. Step. Adjust. Turn and separate. All right, let's do that again. Commence. Open, close, single whip. You feeling more and more comfortable with that? Our goal is slow, smooth, and continuous. And so when we know it really well, we can just end one part and go right into the next because we know it that well. And it's easier to do slow, smooth, and continuous. And we can experience the internal components of Tai Chi when we're just in autopilot because we know those movements so well. Slow, smooth, continuous. All right, again, commence. Single whip. Well, hopefully you're feeling more and more comfortable with those movements. We've done these and talked about principles, and it's nice to practice them with each principle in mind. Did I breathe that whole time? Okay, let's do that. Let's see if we're breathing the whole time we do it. Commence. How was your breath? Did you catch yourself holding your breath? I caught myself holding my breath because I was trying to wait to inhale as I came out and exhale as I closed my hands. I caught myself doing that. But body awareness keeps you in mind of what you are actually doing. All right, one more time. And commence. Thinking about my posture, not carrying any tension with the movements. All right, moving forward with our waving hands and clouds. So you know these are our 4 words. Step, switch, turn, shift. Step and shift are our feet. Switch and turn are our upper body. So I love this movement because it really gives us a good practice of weight transfer and the circular nature of our hand movements. It has us experience the internal components where it's relaxing. It helps reduce stress or helps reduce anxiety to just do waving hands and clouds. And so first let's talk about our footwork where we Tai Chi walk to the side. This is a big part of getting comfortable with this movement. So you're not supposed to look down because looking down may make you fall down. I like watching myself in a mirror, or I can see myself on a video, or I can have someone take pictures or take a video of me. But feeling what feels natural for you in terms of how big your steps are, but not just the length or the space of your steps, but are you really completely putting weight on one leg to where you can lift the other leg and step out versus am I stepping too far so that when I go to shift weight, I'm actually kicking off on this other leg. So there's that place that you have to find for yourself where you step right outside of hip width and then about at hip width. So you don't want to take too big of a step, which I think that feels kind of unnatural because we're used to doing everything so big. So it's hard for us to pull in and go small. But we want to be able to step and then completely shift the weight so that we can lift this foot and move it over. I caught myself doing wrong. It's been a year or so ago because the floor had just been waxed. I was stepping so far and that I had to kick off with this other foot. And the way I told on myself was this foot slipped whenever I went to kick off. So I thought I was doing it just fine until that happened. And so just remember, there really are small steps. You're picking up that foot and almost putting it down exactly where it already was. We're not going anywhere far or fast. So get a feel for the step and shift. Step, shift. And that step is empty. Then we give it weight. So practice Tai Chi walking sideways so that you get a feel for spacing and what feels natural. Go until you get close to the wall and then start going that other way. Don't worry about how many steps you're taking. Just feel the weight shift. I have a slight bend in my knee as I step. I'm not even doing anything with my hands. I'm just practicing Tai Chi walking. Empty step, then the weight shift, then the follow step. Getting real comfortable with that stepping.
Oh, we had no power at the house.
Oh no!
Power went there.
And then our switch and turn is much like our torso movement of our spinal warm-up.
I
So
got a mirror, but it's
we know that the hand on top tells us the direction we're going,
anyway.
which,
What's going on? Someone was coming to the house?
sick.
Do you have anything to put in here?
All right. We're here, one hand's, and we're not doing any legs now, but we're here by our hip and here across our body, and we turn, and then we switch our hands. Now watch how my hands pass in the same plane. Then I turn. They switch in the same plane, and then I turn. Switch, turn. Switch, turn. It's only my body that's moving, other than at the end right here. Yes, my hands are moving. That's not any kind of magic trick. But once I switch my hands are still, I turn my torso, then I switch my hands. Same thing with my head. My head is attached to my body, so it may look like it's turning, but it's just going along for the ride. And so I want you to feel the switch and the turn. And you can make it choppy and then start smoothing it out. Switch and turn. Slow, smooth, and continuous. So as soon as I get to the side, I start the switch. As soon as that switch happens, I start the turn. See how relaxing this movement is? It's so soft. As you go side to side, I want you to think about the muscles that are in your core, the muscles that are in your stomach, the muscles that surround your spine. Use those muscles as you go side to side. And that helps strengthen those muscles around your core. And that with strength comes stability. So we want to have that usage of our core muscles. So it's not something that you can probably see me do. If you were to take your finger and punch right here while I was going side to side, you probably feel my muscles tight because I'm using those muscles to turn me side to side. As I go side to side, flexing those muscles side to side. So practice flexing those muscles as you go side to side and breathing. Because sometimes we flex our muscle and we naturally hold our breath. So breathe, push. So it looks like I'm going side to side, but I'm inhaling, exhaling, and tightening those, mainly my stomach muscles, as I go side to side. Whew, that's a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can, like I said, I like that waving hands and clouds movement because it's one of those pull-out movements. I can wave hands and clouds till I hit that wall and come and wave hands and clouds till I hit that wall. And I'm practicing all those principles, upright posture and weight transfer and breath and engaging my core. And then, like I said, that circular motion of your hands reduces stress and anxiety that you may be feeling. So here you can sit down and do that same movement. So nothing's happening with my legs. I'm just practicing the switch and turn. So I'm switching and turn. I'm engaging my stomach muscles as I go side to side. All right, let's talk about our legs. All right, so when I push this leg, my body wants to go the opposite direction. When I push this leg, my body goes the opposite direction. So I want you to experience that. Push this leg and turn the opposite way. When you get there, release that leg, switch your hands. Now push this leg and go in that opposite direction. Switch, push that leg and turn, release, switch, push that leg and turn, release, switch, push that leg and turn. Do you feel that? Do you feel how when you push one leg, it naturally pushes your body to that other direction? If you try to push this leg and go in that direction, you feel like you're fighting yourself. That's how you know which leg to push into the floor and which side you're going. Push this one, you're going that way. Push this one, you're going that way. Y'all feel it?
Yeah.
And I know sometimes when we're doing this stuff, you're like, whoa, there's a lot going on. My brain is fried trying to think about which foot and which way. But just naturally push this floor or push one foot into the floor, and which way does it make your body want to turn? Without even thinking about it. Release it and push the other one. Release it, push the other one. Release it, push the other one. Release, push the other one. So I'm not really doing anything with my hands. I'm just I'm waving them, but I'm not going through that whole motion. I'm more worried about releasing and pushing a leg and turning that opposite way. So that gives you the seated version of that movement. Or you can just forget your feet and just practice that turn. But nonetheless, waving hands in clouds involves all of those four things: step, switch, turn, and shift. So when we step out, we fix our hands, and then we turn. Shift, step, switch, turn. Shift, step, switch, turn. Shift, step, switch, turn. I like to switch and step at the same time, then turn and shift. Because when I turn, I'm engaging those core muscles, and turning, engaging muscles, and shifting is just more than I'm wanting to do. So I turn, then shift. All right, come back to center for open and close. So let's add all of that to the top, starting with commence. Here we go. Commence up, down, place, in, up, and how does I shift? Hands come in, open and close. Single whip, shift, step, adjust, separate. Waving hands in clouds. So let's shift left, bring that right foot, right hand back. Now we're ready to follow our four step. Switch, turn. Shift, step, switch, turn. Shift, step, switch, turn. Shift, step, switch, turn. Shift, step, switch, turn. And I know at this point you're like, everything you have said for the past 25 minutes has went out the door. Open and close. Single wheel. Because I was sitting there thinking, oh, that's a lot to think about. How big my steps are, when I'm going to shift, changing my hands in that same plane, turning, utilizing all these muscles. I mean, you see why we can do basic six for years and never get bored with it, because there's so many things to just get our head around. All right, single whip to the left. We shift right, step left, adjust. So first we have to learn the movement and be real comfortable with the movement. Then we start to incorporate or focus on one thing at the time. And the more we practice one thing at the time, it all tends to come together. Open and close. So let's practice our basic six over and over, and that's how we get better at it. So you can think about posture, you can think about breath, you can think about the pace or the slow, smooth, continuous nature. You can really focus on that empty step before the weight transfer. Focus on the fact if you're breathing or not. So whatever you want to focus on. And here we go. Commence. Open, close. Single whip, right. Waving hands and clouds, right. There's our step and switch. Turn, shift. Open, close. Single whip. Waving hands and clouds. Close. And close it out. Now I'm going to turn around so you can follow me. Because we're going in the same direction when I turn around. We go in our basic six, we go to the right first, then we go to the left. And commence. Open, close. Single whip. Waving hands and clouds. There's two. Remember, there's six. 4. 6. Open, close. Single whip. Waving hands and clouds. Two. 4. 6. Open, close. Close it out. So again, you can practice this, thinking about all of our different principles. Let's do it again. Taking a few deep breaths as I think about slow, smooth, continuous. I fix any tension that may be anywhere in my body. I think about breath, specifically breathing through my nose. And let's begin. Commence. Open, close. Single whip. Waving hands and cloud. And about the spacing of my steps, remembering that it's really small. I want to completely shift weight and lift that other foot up, not have to kick off. And it takes strength of that other leg. Open, close. Single whip.
Right.
Waving hands and clouds. Open, close. So do you find it helpful for me to turn around so that you can follow me in the same direction?
Yeah, I get confused left to right.
I do too, Miss Linda. I know Nora likes me to turn around. But you know, in the beginning it's nice so that y'all can see from the front what my hands are doing, because you can't necessarily see it when I turn around. So we'll continue to practice with me turned around, and then if you have any questions about what it looks like from the front, we can clarify it then that way. All right.
Yeah.
So practice it again. These are the moves that we want to feel very comfortable with. When we start working, and if we can work on it next week, but talking about our advanced movements, those are bonus. You know, those are fun. They challenge our bodies in a different way. They challenge our brain in a different way. But if we can get a real good grasp on this basic 6, that's where we want to really feel comfortable. We don't want to have to worry about pushing forward. We want to really get a good grasp here, especially with all our principles in mind. So here we go. And commence. Open, close. Single whip. Waving hands and clouds. Open, close. Single whip. Waving hands and clouds. Open, close. And close it out. Let's do it again. And commence. And close. Single whip. Waving hands and clouds. Remember 6. So here's 1, 2, 4, and 6. Open, close. Single whip. Waving hands and clouds. Again, don't forget, we got 6 here. I like to count the turns. So here's 2. Open, close. And close it out. Are you feeling more and more comfortable with it as we practice? Let's practice. We have time to do it again. I may be holding my breath. And I think I'm trying to talk instead of breathe. All right, so here we go. And commence. But being aware of what we're doing is how we fix it. So we got to notice it, and then, or we can't fix it. Open and close. Single whip. Waving hands and clouds. Four, we got 2 more. Open, close. Single whip. Waving hands and clouds. Open, close. And close it out. So remember, on the seated version of our basic 6, right and left really don't matter. You're going to go side to side. So we're not walking anywhere, but when we do, let's go through our basic 6 movement seated. So we start with our hand on our side and commence. Open, close. And I'm not pushing my feet into the floor. I'm just strictly doing hand movements. Waving hands and clouds. Open, close. Single whip. Maybe you remember the other hand you looked at that first time. If not, it's fine. Going through those motions of waving hands in clouds side to side. I find it harder to know if I'm at 5 or 6 on the seated version. Open, close, and close it out. So that gives you experience just doing that upper body. And the more we practice, the more we get better at it. So hopefully sometime in this next week, you get a chance to go through it on your own. And let me know next week when we have class, what are some of those thoughts that you have that are like kind of putting a wrench in your cog? Like what is these thoughts that is going, this part is just really getting me messed up? And let's explore that and see, what's going on and how we can work through it. All right, let's cool down. Let's tell our legs, thank you for working so hard. Every time we transfer weight, our legs are working for us. Our muscles are getting stronger. And that's why weight transfer is so important to falls prevention, because it helps our muscles get strong. When we're strong, we can stay upright easier. Next thing we do is gather tension and let it go. Sometimes we hold tension and don't even realize it, but we got to recognize it so that we can let it go. Tense and relax. Don't walk around with tension. Let it go. And then I love this gathering move, feeling that soul, gathering sun and feeling our soul. Also, a good movement to practice breath. If you've held your breath the whole time during our class, this one right here gets you in a rhythm of breathing where we inhale as we come up and exhale as we push down. So this is a great one. You have 5 minutes, practice breathing. Hey, give yourself 3 minutes to practice breath. We hold our breath a lot. And then to end class, we make a fist with our right hand representing our strength, our left fingers together representing our friendship, our thumb in, which is our humility. We put those together, and in mutual respect, we say namaste.
Namaste.
Thank y'all so much. I like going back to the basics. I like pushing you and introducing you to those advanced moves, but sometimes it can be overwhelming to brush knee and play the lute and peri punch, and we just really want a certain thing out at Tai Chi, and that is we don't want to fall. We want our muscles to be strong. And if we can parry the punch, that's great. But we really want to not fall. Right. So that's why it's good.
Jennifer.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get my form?
Let me see, babe. When things come in, I put them in this folder. I got Miss Barbara's. Wait, I was going to say, I thought Miss Barbara was in here. I got Miss Iris's, Mr. Rogers, Miss Sharon, Gwen. Have you mailed it? I'm assuming.
Yes.
It may be in today's mail. I'm not seeing it.
Okay. Well, let me know when you get it.
Okay, I sure will. Well, y'all have a great week.
Thank you.
Y'all let me know if I can do anything for you, and I'll see you next Tuesday, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, love y'all.
Love
you.
you.
Love you.
All right, bye-bye.